Well, hello friends. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Rainy, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're back again and you're a old friend, welcome back. Glad to see you. um, and today we are going to kind of do a twofer video. I am going to talk about what I read in the month of November and also what I plan to read in the month of December, and, other little plans type of things. So we're just going to move right into it because I feel like this is going to be a long video. And also a disclaimer, I'm kind of getting over a cold. So my voice is a little scratchy. So if there's like cuts in weird places, it's probably because I'm taking a drink of tea. So the first book that I read in the month of November was called A Brew to a Kill by Ellie Alexander. This is number 6.5 in the Sloane Krause mystery series. And this was, I would say it was a novella in this series. Most of the ones that are like 0.5 are novellas. But this one was pretty fleshed out. So it was pretty close, I would say, to her other fuller length mystery novels. This particular one involved an internet influencer that comes to the town of Leavenworth, Washington, where this series is set, which is a real town that is in the German Bavarian style. And Sloane and her business partner slash new boyfriend, Garrett, they run a microbrewery in Leavenworth. So this influencer is like a travel vlogger, Instagrammer, and he comes to the town and then, gets murdered. So I don't want to say much more than that because, you should read it. But this one, we liked it. I read this with my friends Tara and Amanda, if I didn't say that before. We liked it, but I feel like we are possibly kind of over the whole like internet influencer scene. I mean, I know that I'm on the internet, but I don't consider myself an influencer. I don't want to be, so please don't consider me an influencer. but but yeah, we were a little bit over that. I don't know. There was something about that plot line that we didn't love. But overall, I think it was a good story. I'd say that we probably collectively, as the friends, the buddy readers, probably gave it 3.5 to 4 stars. It wasn't like necessarily our favorite, but we liked it well enough. The next book I finished in November was Changes at Fairacre by Miss Reed. This was going to be our next live discussion in the Follow Us to Fairacre read along that I was doing with my friends Kate and Chelsea and Angie and Elizabeth. And we were going to do it at the end of the month, but sadly we kind of decided as a collective that with just some life stuff that's going on for some people in our group at the moment, that we are going to just kind of suspend that read along for a while until we just see, where our group is at in 2024. But I did finish Changes at Fairacre, and it was a really good read. It would have been nice to be able to discuss it, but hopefully we will get to discuss that one early next year. We'll try to make that happen. But in this one, the whole Fairacre series by Miss Reed are just like lovely little slice of life, just vignettes of the townspeople in Fairacre seen through a school mistress's eyes. So we follow Miss Reed, who is a character in the book as well as the author, and her friend Miss Claire, and just all the other townspeople, the children that she teaches. We get little snippets of their lives. Miss Pringle, who is actually one of my favorite characters because she is just obnoxious. And I just think she adds a little bit of fun and zest to the community. Um, but yeah, there were some very, very sad things that we were kind of um, dreading that happened in this book, but it was nice to see like the community come together after it and everything like that. So I really enjoyed this one. This was probably one of my favorites in of the more recent ones that we've read. So hopefully we will discuss it at some point in the near future. But I really enjoyed this one. The next book I read was Mytle Means an Opportunity by Elizabeth C. Bunce. And this is book 5, I want to say, in the Mytle Hardcastle Cozy Mystery Series. That is a middle grade mystery series. We follow Mytle Hardcastle, who is probably around 12 to 13 years old at this point. And she is a Victorian child of a lawyer. She only has one parent, but she also has a governess, Miss Judson, and Miss Judson and Mytle often solve mysteries together. And in this one, we go to Scotland for the mystery. Miss Judson has inherited some property in Scotland, and it's a big surprise to everyone. And she and Miss Judson go off to kind of see the property and settle things there. And of course, there are plenty of mysteries. There were a lot of mysteries actually in this one. And it was done right. Like it wasn't like super confusing. It was just a lot of like little mysteries surrounding this town and this estate, and even the whole idea of Miss Judson inheriting this property was a mystery. And yeah, it just was really fun. This was probably one of my favorite in the series. And I should say that I also buddy read this. This was a month of buddy reads, which is probably why I had such a great reading month, because I had buddies to hold me accountable to finishing all these books. So I read this with my friend Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia, my friend Elizabeth, and who else am I missing here? There's somebody else. Uh-oh, hold on, let me check. Oh yeah, my friend Jess was the other one that we buddy read with. We have all four of us, I believe, actually started out that just Tiffany, Jess, and I were reading these books together, and then we found out that Elizabeth is also reading them, so we asked her to join us as well. So that's exciting. And yeah, it was just a great conversation. And really, I just feel like buddy reads always add to the experience. We were wondering, I don't know why we thought maybe this would have been the last one, but we think that there's still room for at least one more in the series. We hope. So hopefully there will be another one. If anybody has any inside information into this series that wants to tell us if we are right and there is another one coming, please do. But we are very hopeful. The next book I read was Twilight Falls by Juno Black. This is book number, this might be 5. I think this might be number 5 in the Shady Hollow mystery series. And I think I said in my November TBR, I think I kept calling it Sleepy Hollow. I at least did once, but it's Shady Hollow. And this book, as you can tell, this series has animals. They're anthropomorphized animals, and they act just like people. I personally love to picture this in my head. And I really want this to be like an animated TV series. That would be awesome for me. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I would totally watch this. But anyway, this follows Vera Vixen, who is a reporter for the Shady Hollow Herald, and she is a fox, and she solves all the mysteries in the town. And her her special friend, Orville, is the local detective. And because Shady Hollow is such a small town, Orville is the only police person on the job. So Vera tends to help him out. Sometimes to his chagrin, but she always ends up solving the mystery, of course. So, Twilight Falls follows a star-crossed couple who is it's an interspecies relationship, and they want to be together. Yes, I'm sorry. I had to take a drink of tea. So their parents do not want them to be together because they are of different species, and things happen. Somebody winds up falling over Twilight Falls, and a mystery ensues. Now, I will say that I am usually not the type that kind of solves these mysteries. I'm just kind of reading for enjoyment and following along, and I try to like vaguely solve the mystery, but I usually know that I'm not going to be right. Turns out that I was right pretty early on in this series. I didn't really understand it all, um, or like how it would all come together, but I was like, I think it's going to be this. And it was. And I was buddy reading this again. I read something with my friend Ellie, and I'm not saying everybody's channel names, but I will list them all below because you should check them all out. But we talked about this at the end, and we were both like, at first I was like, oh, that's fun, it's a different twist. I thought to a lot of them. Whew, I've been talking too much, people, sorry. But Ellie and I both at the end were kind of like, I don't know how I felt about the ending. It was a little, I don't know. I don't know how to say it without spoiling it. So suffice it to say that it's sort of a weird conclusion. It's interesting, and I kind of like that they did it, just because it was different, but also it didn't really wrap up in a way that I was convinced that it would. Does that does that make sense? I don't know. The second to last book that I read for the month of November was Countess Kate by Charlotte Mary Young. This is a Victorian novella. I would say it's a novella. And I buddy read this one as well. Yay! And I read this with a bunch of people. Some have channels, some do not. I will link the ones below that do. But they are all participate in our friend Kate Howe's Patreon book club. And it's kind of fun because every so often people from the group will like separate into other groups to read other Victorian novels. It's really fun. So yeah, I don't normally get involved in those, but I just happened to for this one, and I'm going to do it more often because it was great. This book follows a young girl named Kate in Victorian times, of course, and she is an orphan, and she's living with her uncle, and she and her cousin talk about how it would be fun to basically be royalty, like every little girl does. We all think it'd be fun to be royalty when we're like 10 years old. And then come to find out that Kate actually is a countess, and she gets whisked away to some like old lady relatives that are going to bring her up in her right society, basically. So as you can imagine, that doesn't go well. And Kate is, trying to grow up, and she's trying to be important because she knows she's a countess, but she also misses her family that she's used to. And, it just turns into a whole big thing. And it's just it's sweet. And Charlotte Mary Young is basically a Christian author from the Victorian time frame. So she really puts like a moral spin on things. But I didn't feel like it was preachy at all. And some of the things that Kate got herself into, we were like, oh, geez, this kid, but in the end, it just, it ended happily as you would want that kind of thing to do. And yeah, it was just sweet, and I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed talking about it with my friends. So, and the last book that I read was actually my only book for nonfiction November, and that was Joy in Christ's Presence by Charles Spurgeon, who was also a Victorian preacher in London, and there are a lot of his writings out there. And my friends Tiffany and Dia from Novel Idea, and a new booktuber to me, Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library, were doing live shows all through the month of November on Joy in Christ's Presence. So I wanted to follow along with them. And if you are thinking of reading this book, number one, it's very good. It has very solid thoughts on just living the Christian life and finding joy in Christ's presence, even amidst, everything that goes on in the human experience. It was really, just really insightful. Charles Spurgeon is, to me, one of the best speakers I guess writers, and for me, because I, clearly could never hear him speak, but I have just really grown to love him. He's very approachable for a Victorian. I never feel like his language is too much for me. Some of his thoughts in this book, got a little dense for me, I guess, but that was probably just, where I was at, in my, brain space by this point. But if you are at all interested in reading this book, I would highly, highly recommend you go back and watch the live shows that Tiffany and Dia and Chrissy did, because they were fantastic. Those women are so insightful and just had all kinds of things to say that just added to the actual text, I thought, and just personal experiences, and Tiffany even started a Spotify playlist of Christian songs that we all thought of as we were, reading through the book. So it's been great. So this was probably one of the most immersive Christian nonfiction reading experiences that I've ever had. So if I ever go back and reread this book, because I didn't highlight, I probably should have highlighted, but I was just trying to keep up, which I did not do, because in the end, I totally didn't keep up with the last week. But if I ever reread it again, I'm totally going back and I'm watching those lives. So I think, actually, being that this is seeming long to me, I am going to split this video up into two, also because my voice is getting a little raspy. So I'm going to split this up into two. So I will come back later and talk to you about my December reading plans, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about my November reading. It was actually a pretty great month of reading. I have not had a month like that for reading in a long time. I even physically read some books, which hasn't happened in a very long time. I have been relying on audiobooks a lot. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. not myself, just impressed that it happened. So anyway, friends, I hope you have a wonderful start to your December, and I will talk to you soon, probably tomorrow. All right, bye, friends.